Joined now by the head coach of the Flint Hill Huskies, Tom Verbanic. Coach Verbanic, obviously your team having a pretty good season this year. We'll get into that in just a second, but having you on a legend of your status when it comes to high school football in the D.C. metro area, got to ask you, you had so much success at Westfield, of course also at Fairfax before that. Now you're at Flint Hill, obviously really different situations, at least from the outside looking in. Can you kind of compare and contrast for me the two situations going from big-time public school to where you are now at Flint Hill?
Well, it's definitely been interesting. That's one thing. But the great thing is you're still working with kids, and football's a sport that one of the few things we have left where it's great. It's a team sport, and you can teach a whole lot of things other than football also about the way things should be done and teamwork and all that good stuff. But probably the biggest challenge has been getting used to the numbers. Obviously, at Westfield, at one time we had over like 225 kids in the program. And at Flint Hill, obviously, that's about the same number of boys in the whole school. But the one thing is it's still high school football, and it's still with great kids. And, the kids at Flint Hill are great. They work as hard as they can work. And, it's been a good experience, and kind of makes you have to change your way of doing things a little bit as a coach also.
Is there anything you can kind of elaborate on what you've kind of done differently, like here, maybe because of numbers wise? Have you changed up your practice style, anything of that nature, or something different?
Well, we definitely had to make some adjustments in practice, just with the numbers you have. Unfortunately, our kids don't get much rest in practice at all. But the other thing is that there's a lot more learning actually, because the kids at Flint Hill, you're forced to play kids both ways and special teams and things like that. So, it's just a different challenge, and you have to change the way you practice. And, it's been a learning curve for me. Let's put it that way.
Now, of course, over your time, you've accumulated a lot of wins. This past earlier in the year, you got to the 200-win plateau, and I know most coaches kind of say, hey, it's all about the players, and I'm sure you feel the same way, but were you able to kind of reflect on that and just say, hey, this is a pretty cool milestone?
Well, to be very honest, I haven't thought too much about it, but the one thing that I do think about a lot is when everybody kind of brought it up, and that is that I've been really fortunate. I've had really good players and really good kids, and also had a number of coaches over the years that have stuck together and worked together. And everybody knows you're only as good as your staff and how your staff not only coaches but teaches. And so I've been very fortunate in that matter. And lastly, the one thing I thought of right away is my family, my wife, and my two kids have been a part of everything, and it's been kind of a family affair. So I think that's probably the neatest part for me.
Talking to Tom Verbanic, the head coach of the Flint Hill Huskies here on the final drive. Of course, Coach Verbanic, let's get to your team now, a Huskies team that's playing some pretty good football right now, and one of the guys kind of stirring the drink for you, the freshman, the running back, Jordan Houston, doing some really good things. Talk about him and what he's been able to do for the team this year.
Well, Jordan stepped into a role because we didn't have much coming back at running back, and he has stepped up. He's a very talented young man. I'd love to take credit for everything. That's just not the case. He does. He has some very good natural instincts. One of my best compliments for him is that he has done a great job of learning things and starting to understand schemes that we use and things like that. And the other thing is and he understands and is the first one to tell you that a lot of it depends on how our offensive line blocks, and also if we can throw the ball and how our quarterback's playing and all that, so that things open up for him a little bit. But as a youngster, as a freshman, I think that he sees things very well, and he's a quick learner. learner at understanding schemes and what to expect.
Coach, who are some guys maybe also on offense and maybe some guys on defense that folks may not have heard that much about but should keep an eye on when it comes to your Flint Hill team?
Well, I think if you start on offense, I think our quarterback, Justin Soleil, has had a very good year. He runs the show pretty well. He understands our running game very well and what it takes to get the ball in the right places, do the right things. And he's completing, I think, somewhere about 65 to 70% of his passes, and has done a good job understanding that we're going to be balanced and do what the game calls for. So he's been selfless that way. At receiver, we've had Gage Herdman's had a great year at receiver, along with Brett Brillier. They've done a good job and put us in position. And then, as I say, I think our offensive line has just gotten better and better every week. And those guys, obviously, like everybody else, don't get a whole lot of credit, but they've done a great job, and they've just gotten better and better. And Coach Pete Salvano with them has just really glued them together.
On the defensive end, you guys have had some shutouts this year, a few of those, also some low output games. So obviously defense getting some things done for you. Who are some guys kind of keying the effort on that side of the ball?
Well, inside linebacker Grant Jenkins, he's a senior, and he transformed from being a defensive end to an inside linebacker, and he's had an outstanding year. He's done a good job. And Ben Cross at defensive end also just really has played very well up front, and he's a force. And then in the defensive backfield, again, Gage Herdman, and the other guys. It's definitely a team defense, but those guys have stood out. But again, where our whole basis of doing things is that it takes 11 to get it done.
Coach, this week you've got a matchup with Marais. It looked like it was going to be a matchup of teams that were unbeaten in MAC play, but of course they had the they kind of blew the big lead against Sidwell Friends, but still a good Frogs football team. Talk about what concerns you a bit about Marais.
Well, you're exactly right. They are a very good football team. Obviously, it starts with their quarterback. He is he is multi-talented. I mean, he's the epitome of what people are looking for at quarterback. He's got great quickness, great speed, runs the ball very well, but yet throws it almost as well. And he puts a tremendous amount of pressure on defense. And the other thing is they had some young kids last year who were big kids. They're linemen who were big kids who were young, who have grown up another year, and they do a great job in their scheme and put a lot of pressure on you because of their size also.
Of course, you're talking about Garrison Burnett, their standout quarterback at Marais, a good player for them. Of course, everybody, some good players in the MAC. Now, Coach, we're going to wrap things up with talking about, obviously, you guys, after conference play, you're looking to win the conference championship, but also there's the Vista Playoffs. Possibly you guys could get into. You're sitting at number 5 right now behind a St. Christopher's team that has a tough matchup with Woodbury Forest this weekend, so maybe a chance to make some headway there. Is that obviously the goal there, to maybe kind of get your way in there and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you always look at that. We have a whole philosophy of our most important game is the one we're playing right now. And so, you always look to the future because having future goals are great also, but we can't get to that step until we try to do as best we can to take care of business where we are. And so, that'll work out how it does. Right now, we have to play Marais, and if we somehow are able to get by them, then we have to play Sidwell. And, those two things are way more important right this second.
Coach, one last one before I get you out of here. What are the ultimate goals for you at Flint Hill when it comes to this football program?
Well, I think that I would have to answer that by saying that it's much more what the kids want. And this group, there's a group of seniors that we talked after last season and things like that. Their leadership has been outstanding, and what my hope is that the program will grow in numbers and kids will want to be a part of something that's special. And hopefully, the kids will feel like, well, if I go to Flint Hill, we're going to get coached by a good coaching staff. We're going to play hard, and we're also going to learn football, and we're going to base everything on our character. So we just want that mentality that our culture that we're trying to build at Flint Hill is that hard work gets us to where we want to go.
Well, Coach Verbanic, you've had some great programs before, great teams before. Hopefully this one is another one for you. Again, thanks for joining us on the show.
All right. Thank you very much.